This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Trump's tête-à-tête with House GOP, airing grievances and shaping policy priorities. Former President Donald Trump held a closed-door meeting with House Republicans on Thursday, where he spent over an hour airing grievances about his legal and electoral challenges. According to multiple GOP lawmakers in the room, Trump attacked his critics, discussed policy matters like abortion and taxes, and went off topic with rants about Taylor Swift and Nancy Pelosi. He warned Republicans not to be afraid of the hot-button issue of abortion and advocated for exceptions for rape, life of the mother, and incest, claiming that Democrats were the extreme ones on the topic. Trump also bragged about the House Republicans who voted to impeach him, noting that most of them were no longer in office, and included some who were in the room. He expressed his support for GOP Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, but playfully asked her to be nice to House Speaker Mike Johnson. The former president also discussed his priorities, including eliminating taxes on tips and halting further aid for Ukraine. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Supreme Court upholds access to abortion pill mifepristone, a victory for FDA and reproductive rights. The U.S. Supreme Court has unanimously upheld access to the abortion pill mifepristone in a major victory for abortion rights supporters. The court's ruling means that the availability of the common abortion pill will remain unchanged. Despite fears that access to the procedure would be further restricted, the case dealt with the FDA's ability to regulate mifepristone, which is used in medication abortions. Anti-abortion activists had tried to persuade the court to roll back the FDA's moves to expand access to the drug. However, the court rejected their arguments and ruled that they did not have the legal right to bring the case. The FDA's decisions, including allowing the pill to be obtained via mail and expanding the list of healthcare providers who can administer it, remain in effect. This means that mifepristone will continue to be widely available in the United States, where it is used in over 60% of abortions by healthcare providers. This unanimous ruling marks a rare moment of consensus from the Supreme Court on the very divisive issue of abortion. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. White House open to commutation for Hunter Biden after gun charge conviction. The White House has not ruled out a potential commutation for Hunter Biden, following his recent conviction on federal gun charges. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre stated that she had not spoken to President Joe Biden about the matter since Tuesday's verdict. When asked about the possibility of a commutation during a press conference on Air Force One, Jean-Pierre referred to the fact that sentencing had not yet been scheduled, and reiterated the president's previous comment ruling out a pardon. She emphasized that President Biden had been clear and forthright in his response to questions about a pardon and about the trial. Jean-Pierre repeatedly directed reporters to the president's statement after the guilty verdict, in which he expressed his love and support for his son. While a pardon is an executive forgiveness of a crime, a commutation refers to an executive lowering of a sentence or punishment. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Contempt in Congress. AG Merrick Garland withheld Biden tapes. The United States House of Representatives has voted to hold Attorney General Merrick Garland in contempt of Congress. The vote, which passed by a margin of 216 to 207, was the result of Garland's refusal to turn over audio recordings of President Joe Biden's interviews with Special Counsel Robert Hur during the investigation into Biden's handling of classified documents. The recordings are believed to be crucial in understanding the context of the interviews, particularly with regards to Biden's mental state. Garland has maintained that the recordings are protected by executive privilege, and that releasing them could have a chilling effect on witness cooperation in future investigations. The contempt resolution is largely seen as a partisan exercise, with Democrats defending Garland's actions and Republicans accusing him of engaging in a cover-up. However, given the partisan nature of the vote, it's unlikely that criminal charges will be pursued. Both the preceding Attorneys General William Barr and Eric Holder were also held in contempt but did not face criminal charges. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. State of emergency in South Florida. Torrential rains flood Miami and Fort Lauderdale. Heavy rain and flooding have hit South Florida, prompting the governor to declare a state of emergency. Multiple communities, including Miami and Fort Lauderdale, experienced significant flooding due to torrential rain. The National Weather Service issued flood warnings for several counties, cautioning that the flooding posed a life-threatening risk. Videos on social media showed water levels reaching vehicles' windows and filling up parking decks and streets. The severe weather led to the cancellation and delay of hundreds of flights and forced school officials to postpone the demolition of a building at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School. The heavy rainfall is attributed to a fire hose of tropical moisture from the Caribbean, exacerbated by climate change. Forecasters predict several more inches of rain throughout the week, with double-digit rainfall totals in some areas. The rain may alleviate drought conditions, but it also increases the risk of flash flooding. The National Weather Service has warned of further life-threatening flooding and advised residents to avoid roadways and seek higher ground. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Biden's border strategy divides voters. A closer look at immigration policies and public opinion. President Joe Biden's executive action on immigration has garnered mixed reactions from voters, with nearly half of Democrats approving of his border crackdown. According to a recent poll, 40% of registered voters approve of Biden's border controls, while 27% are opposed, and 33% have no opinion. The poll also found that 49% of Democrats view Biden's action as about right, with 24% considering it too tough, and 19% believing it is not tough enough. This comes as the Biden administration faces criticism from Republicans and some Democrats for its approach to border security and immigration. The poll also highlights that there is a significant partisan divide on the issue, with only 8% of Republicans and 23% of independents expressing approval for Biden's border actions. These numbers shed light on the ongoing clash of opinions surrounding immigration policies in the United States. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Oklahoma Supreme Court rejects Tulsa Massacre reparations, survivors to appeal. The Oklahoma Supreme Court has dismissed a lawsuit filed by the last two survivors of the 1921 Tulsa race massacre, seeking reparations for the destruction of the predominantly black neighborhood of Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street. The lawsuit, filed in 2020, alleged that the city, county, and state officials caused a public nuisance by failing to protect the black community from a white mob that descended on Greenwood, killing and destroying property. The court ruled that the survivors' claims did not fall within the scope of Oklahoma's public nuisance law, and that the ongoing blight in the Greenwood community was a societal issue that could only be addressed by policymakers, not the courts. The 1921 Tulsa race massacre was one of the worst incidents of racist violence against black people in U.S. history, during which a white mob attacked the prosperous Greenwood neighborhood. The attorneys for the survivors plan to file a petition to have the court reconsider its decision, and also request that the U.S. Justice Department open an investigation into the massacre. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Federal judge halts Biden's gender identity rule in schools, impact on Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, and Idaho. A federal judge in Louisiana has blocked the Biden administration from enforcing a new rule that bars schools and colleges receiving federal funding from discriminating against students based on their gender identity. The rule, which was set to take effect in August, would have expanded Title IX civil rights protections to LGBTQ+ students, broadened the definition of sexual harassment, and added safeguards for victims. The judge, Terry Doughty, granted a preliminary injunction, citing that the rule exceeded the Department of Education's authority and violated state sovereignty. The ruling applies to 4 Republican-led states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Montana, and Idaho. This ruling comes as a setback for the Biden administration, which had sought to expand protections for transgender students and ensure their inclusion and safety in schools. The judge's decision is seen as a victory for conservative groups that have long criticized efforts to recognize and protect transgender rights. However, it is important to note that this decision may not be the final word on the matter, as legal challenges and appeals are expected. Transgender rights advocates and the Biden administration are likely to continue fighting to protect the rights and well-being of transgender students. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Florida Panthers edge closer to Stanley Cup glory, dominate Edmonton Oilers in Game 3. The Florida Panthers have taken a commanding 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup Final after defeating the Edmonton Oilers 4-3 in Game 3. Sergei Bobrovsky made 32 saves to preserve the win, while Alexander Barkov and Sam Reinhart each contributed a goal and an assist. The Panthers' penalty kill continued to thwart the Oilers' power play, which remains 0 for 10 in the series. The Oilers' top players, including Connor McDavid, have yet to make a significant impact on the scoresheet. The Panthers are now one win away from the 2024 Stanley Cup Championship. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Hunter Biden convicted. Republicans stoke controversy over Biden family and DOJ bias. The conviction of Hunter Biden on federal gun charges has sparked a heated debate among Republicans, with many echoing former President Donald Trump's claims that the Justice Department has treated Biden with kid gloves while zealously prosecuting Trump. Using the attention surrounding Hunter Biden's conviction, Republicans have revived unsubstantiated allegations that Joe Biden, while vice president, acted to advance his family members' foreign business interests. Trump's campaign issued a statement calling the verdict nothing more than a distraction from the real crimes of the Biden crime family. Several Republican lawmakers, including Representative Elise Stefanik and Senator J.D. Vance, have also weighed in, with Stefanik labeling the conviction the first step in delivering accountability for the Biden crime family. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Remembering NBA legend Jerry West, a tribute to Mr. Clutch. Jerry West, NBA legend, dies at age 86. NBC News. Jerry West, the iconic NBA player, coach, and executive, has passed away at the age of 86. Known as Mr. Clutch for his incredible shooting ability under pressure, West played for the Los Angeles Lakers from 1960 to 1974, leading the team to 9 NBA Finals appearances and winning 1 championship in 1972. He was a 14-time NBA All-Star and was inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame in 1980. West's name is still prominent in NBA postseason record books, holding records for points scored, baskets made, and free throws made, among others. He also had a significant impact on the Lakers as a front office executive, helping assemble the renowned Showtime teams that achieved multiple NBA titles. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Celtics edge Mavericks for 3-0 NBA Finals lead, Game 3 breakdown and Porzingis update. The Boston Celtics are on the verge of capturing the 2024 NBA title after a hard-fought victory against the Dallas Mavericks in Game 3 of the NBA Finals. The Celtics overcame the absence of star player Kristaps Porzingis, who is sidelined with a leg injury, and held off a late rally by the Mavericks to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the series. Despite some lapses in concentration and poor decision-making in the fourth quarter, the Celtics were able to lock in defensively and secure the win. The Mavericks' superstar guard Luka Doncic fouled out in the final minutes of the game, which proved to be a crucial blow to Dallas. Doncic's performance in Game 3 was heavily criticized, with pundits labeling it as unacceptable and not good enough. The Celtics now have the opportunity to complete the sweep in Game 4. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Biden and Zelensky forge $50 billion security pact at G7 summit. A new era for U.S.-Ukraine relations and a challenge to Putin. President Joe Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky have signed a 10-year bilateral security agreement at an international summit in Italy. The agreement includes a deal for a $50 billion loan to Ukraine this year, backed by frozen Russian assets to help defend against Russia's invasion. The money will be used for military aid, humanitarian support, and reconstruction efforts in Ukraine. Biden stated that the security agreement and loan deal send a strong message to Russian President Vladimir Putin, emphasizing that the U.S. stands with Ukraine. However, the future of the security pact may be uncertain, as it could depend on the outcome of the U.S. presidential election. If Donald Trump wins, he may choose to withdraw from the agreement. Zelensky sees the security pact as a bridge to Ukraine joining NATO in the future. The loan deal was announced during a summit meeting of the Group of Seven, G7 nations, and other countries are expected to contribute to the loan as well. The U.S. expects to be repaid through interest flowing from frozen Russian assets. The agreement also includes a commitment to work with Congress on a sustainable funding source for the future. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Supreme Court denies Trump too small trademark in free speech dispute. The Supreme Court has rejected a California lawyer's attempt to trademark the phrase Trump too small, ruling unanimously in favor of the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. The lawyer, Steve Elster, had applied to register the phrase, which refers to a crude joke about former President Donald Trump made during a 2016 Republican primary debate. Elster argued that his free speech rights would be violated if he could not register the trademark, but the court disagreed, stating that restrictions on trademarking certain names are consistent with history and tradition, and do not violate the First Amendment. This case is one of several concerning free speech rights in the trademark context that the Supreme Court has taken up in recent years. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Tesla shareholders greenlight Elon Musk's $44.9 billion pay package amid stock fluctuations. Tesla shareholders have approved Elon Musk's $44.9 billion pay package. Musk's pay deal was at one time valued at about $56 billion at the peak of Tesla's share price in late 2021, but has since declined in value by about one-quarter due to a drop in the company's stock price. However, this package still makes him eligible for an unprecedented payout, but also comes with some challenging targets. However, Musk claims that the potential payout is necessary to keep him focused on Tesla's long-term success. The package, which was previously invalidated by a Delaware judge, was reinstated after shareholders voted in favor of it. This vote of confidence from shareholders is seen as a validation of Musk's leadership and vision for the company. With this pay package, Musk is poised to become one of the world's wealthiest individuals. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Justice Department report exposes excessive force and racial bias in Phoenix police practices. The Phoenix Police Department has been found to routinely use excessive force and discriminate against Black, Hispanic, and Native American people, according to a report released by the Justice Department. The 126-page report states that the police use unnecessarily dangerous force, fail to provide proper oversight, and enforce the law based on race. The department also violates the rights of homeless individuals by improperly arresting them and destroying their property. While other jurisdictions have cooperated with similar investigations, Phoenix officials have raised the possibility of refusing to accept the findings. The Justice Department began its investigation in August 2021 and has previously launched similar probes into the police departments in Minneapolis and Louisville. The Justice Department's findings are part of a broader pattern of unconstitutional policing in one of America's largest cities. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Senate showdown. IVF rights clash with partisan lines in the U.S. Senate Republicans blocked a Democratic-led bill Thursday to codify broad federal protections for in vitro fertilization nationwide. The vote was 48 to 47, with only two Republicans, Sens. Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins, voting in favor of the bill. The Right to IVF Act, introduced by Sens. Patty Murray, Tammy Duckworth, and Cory Booker aim to establish a federal right for individuals to access IVF services, for providers to offer the procedure, and for insurers to cover it. This right would be shielded from state interference. In response to the blocked bill, Senate Republicans proposed a narrower bill that would cut off Medicaid funding for states if they banned IVF. Democrats argue that this alternative bill has significant loopholes that would allow states to restrict IVF in various ways. The outcome of this legislative battle underscores the ongoing partisan clash over reproductive rights in the United States. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Trump pressures Speaker Johnson to overturn felony conviction. Capitol visit looms. Donald Trump has made a private demand to House Speaker Mike Johnson, urging him to help overturn his recent felony conviction on charges of falsifying business documents. The demand was made in a heated phone call shortly after the May 31st conviction, during which Trump used expletives to emphasize his desire to reverse the verdict. Johnson, who has faced pressure from hardline party members, has tried to quell removal calls by aligning himself closely with Trump. He has expressed his belief that the Supreme Court should intervene and has co-sponsored a bill that would protect presidents from non-federal prosecutions. Trump is scheduled to visit the Capitol on Thursday to discuss his plans for a second term with Republican lawmakers. This development adds further complexity to the ongoing political and legal challenges surrounding Trump's presidency, past and present. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. NASA simulation snafu, unraveling the confusion over a faux ISS emergency. NASA has confirmed that an audio clip of astronauts in distress, which was widely shared on social media, was a simulation broadcast on its YouTube channel in error. The broadcast sparked speculation about a possible emergency on the International Space Station, ISS, but NASA reassured the public that all members of the ISS are safe. The incident led some to believe that a real astronaut was suffering from decompression sickness in space. Decompression sickness, also known as the bends, is a problem typically associated with scuba diving. NASA's crew members aboard the ISS were asleep at the time the audio was broadcast, in preparation for a spacewalk scheduled for later that day. The spacewalk is set to proceed as planned. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Hezbollah intensifies attacks on Israel following airstrikes. Escalation threatens full-scale war. Hezbollah has retaliated to Israeli airstrikes in Lebanon with a second consecutive day of rocket and drone attacks on Israel, intensifying fears of a full-fledged war. While it is unclear how many weapons were launched on Thursday, Hezbollah reported that over 100 were fired in a coordinated attack on several Israeli military installations. Israel's military stated that Hezbollah had sent over 40 rockets across the border, but the barrage continued into the evening. At least 4 people were injured, and wildfires were ignited on both sides of the border. This comes after an Israeli strike killed a senior commander of Hezbollah, prompting the group to pledge to step up its attacks on Israel. The ongoing conflict has forced over 150,000 Israelis and Lebanese to flee their homes. Mediators such as the United States and France have been trying to advance a diplomatic settlement between Israel and Hezbollah, but the likelihood of an agreement remains low as long as Israel's campaign in Gaza continues. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Brawl in Italian Parliament overshadows G7 summit in Puglia. Italian officials expressed regret for a brawl that took place in the country's parliament, as violent scenes from the incident spread widely during the Group of 7 summit in Puglia. The images from the fight were splashed across the country's newspaper front pages. Opposition party member Leonardo Dono was among those involved, and he later stated that he had approached Minister Roberto Calderoli to give him an Italian flag, but chaos ensued and he was injured. The brawl occurred during a vote on a government bill aiming to grant certain regions greater autonomy. Opponents of the bill argue it will widen the north-south divide in the country and add to the hardships faced by the economically struggling South. Legislative brawls have a long history of occurring in parliaments around the world, with similar incidents happening in Taiwan, Ukraine, and Uganda. Italy, which is hosting the G7 summit, will continue discussions on global issues during the event. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Sanctions impact. Moscow exchange halts dollar and euro trading amidst new U.S. restrictions. the Moscow exchange suspended trading in dollars and euros after being sanctioned by the United States in a new raft of restrictions aimed at hindering Russia's ability to wage war in Ukraine. The exchange said trading would continue with the exception of instruments with settlements in U.S. dollars and euros. Russia's National Clearing Center, which acts as an intermediary in foreign exchange transactions, was also hit by U.S. sanctions. The U.S. Treasury Department widened sanctions against Russia, targeting more than 300 entities, including those in Russia and countries like China, Turkey, and the United Arab Emirates. The sanctions will take full effect on August 13th. The halt in dollar and euro trade on the Moscow exchange is expected to further push Russia towards its goal of reducing reliance on the U.S. currency. Russia's central bank has stated that it will take additional measures in response to the new sanctions. The sanctions have already led Russia to take measures to reduce its dependence on the U.S. dollar, as it has been seeking to do for some time. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024, Skywatch 2023. NASA anticipates dazzling nova in T Coronae Borealis. A once-in-a-lifetime celestial event is anticipated to unfold in the night sky between now and September. NASA predicts that the binary star system T Coronae Borealis, or TCRB, will undergo a stunning nova explosion, transforming it from a star too faint to be viewed without aid to one that rivals the brilliance of the North Star Polaris. Approximately every 80 years, the hydrogen from the red giant builds up on the surface of the white dwarf, leading to a violent thermonuclear explosion and a dazzling light show. The last nova on T Coronae Borealis occurred in 1946, and the upcoming event has researchers excited, as it is relatively close to our own system. This recurring nova is part of a special category of binary systems where a white dwarf and a red giant orbit each other, with the white dwarf collecting material from its companion and eventually igniting a powerful hydrogen fusion reaction. The explosion will eject gas from the white dwarf, significantly increasing the system's brightness, making it visible to the unaided eye for several days and over a week with binoculars. While it is possible that the nova could happen after September, recent behavior from the binary system suggests it will occur by or shortly after the end of summer. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Mediators strive for Gaza ceasefire. Blinken navigates Hamas proposals and regional tensions intensify with Hezbollah. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has said that mediators will continue to work towards achieving a ceasefire deal in Gaza, despite Hamas proposing changes to a U.S.-backed plan. Blinken stated that some of the changes proposed by Hamas are workable, while others are not. The ongoing back-and-forth between the two sides highlights the challenges of reaching an agreement to end the 8-month-long war. The ceasefire proposal has global support, but has not been fully embraced by Israel or Hamas. Blinken placed the responsibility on Hamas, accusing the group of changing its demands. Significant differences remain between the two sides, with Hamas seeking stronger guarantees of a permanent ceasefire and Israeli forces withdrawal. Meanwhile, Lebanon's Hezbollah has fired a barrage of rockets into northern Israel in retaliation for the killing of a top commander, heightening regional tensions. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. G7 pledges $50 billion to Ukraine, leveraging frozen Russian assets. Leaders of the G7 have agreed to provide Ukraine with a $50 billion loan to assist in its fight against Russia. The loan will be mostly guaranteed by the U.S. government and backed by interest and profits earned on approximately $260 billion in frozen Russian assets. The vast majority of these assets are held in European Union nations. The funds could potentially reach Ukraine before the end of the year. Confiscating the Russian assets entirely and giving them directly to Ukraine is a more complicated process, requiring additional legal procedures and considerations. Technical experts will work to determine how the loan will be used, with a focus on military, economic, and humanitarian needs and reconstruction. The goal is to provide Ukraine with the necessary resources quickly to withstand Russia's aggression. The $50 billion loan is expected to be disbursed before the end of 2024, and will be repaid using the interest generated from the frozen assets, with Russia expected to pay reparations if it regains control of its assets. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Hezbollah strikes. Over 200 rockets fired at northern Israel amid escalation. Hezbollah has launched a significant rocket barrage at northern Israel, following the killing of a senior commander in southern Lebanon. The attack, which included over 200 rockets and 30 suicide drones, targeted several Israeli military positions, including some in the occupied Golan Heights. The Israeli military reported that numerous launches were intercepted, but some managed to breach defenses, causing fires and injuries. The attacks and counterattacks are forcing many Israelis and Lebanese to flee their homes. This escalation comes amid growing tensions between Israel and Hezbollah, with both sides warning of the possibility of full-scale war. This is the news for today, Friday the 14th of June 2024. Trial ahead for WSJ reporter. Evan Gershkovich faces espionage charges in Russia. Russian prosecutors have announced that American journalist Evan Gershkovich will stand trial on espionage charges in the city of Yekaterinburg. Gershkovich, a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, was arrested over a year ago during a reporting trip and is accused of spying for the United States. Gershkovich and the Journal deny the allegations, and President Biden has called his detention illegal. Russian authorities claim that Gershkovich gathered secret information about a factory involved in the production of weapons for Russia's war against Ukraine. The trial, which could take place behind closed doors, carries a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. Gershkovich's arrest comes amid heightened tensions between the U.S. and Russia over the invasion of Ukraine. Gershkovich, of course, has denied the allegations, and the U.S. government has designated him as wrongfully detained.